All right. Looks like we are live. How's it going, everybody? Chuck Holton here. I'm coming to you from the lounge in Newark, New Jersey. We just landed, and just after we landed, we got word that Iran had struck U.S. bases across the Middle East. So far, we know that Iran has aimed strikes at Qatar, Bahrain. At least there are sirens going off in all these countries: Kuwait, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. Did I say Qatar? Yeah. Now, this is breaking news. It's still happening. So I'm going to give you what we have so far. First of all, I'm going to start by saying that it's being reported that Iran actually coordinated all this with Qatar and with the United States as a way for them to save face, to make it look like that they did something. Uh, well, so far we've been told that there have been no injuries, no deaths, and very little damage. Indeed, several of the bases that were struck were already evacuated by the United States, so there's not really anybody there. The base in Qatar, all the missiles but one were shot down, and by not shot down by the United States, shot down by Qatar. So again, Qatar knew about this ahead of time. They say that the report is that they actually told the United States that they were going to do it ahead of time. And now they're saying, okay, now punch, no punchbacks. Again, just like President Trump said, which is unlikely. You've heard me say, folks, that this thing is very likely to expand, and we are not done with Iran, because you can't just declare a war to be over and expect it to be over, because the enemy gets a vote. And apparently, the enemy has just voted that they want the war to continue. So President Trump is in the security cabinet meeting and is in the situation room at the moment, monitoring what's going on. As far as I can see, so far there's not been any message direct from the White House. Question: why is the Iron Dome not intercepting as many missiles from Iran compared to all the attacks in months past? Okay, Lee, it's a good question, and I've answered that. I've mentioned that before several days ago. The reason is because the Iron Dome is not made to shoot down intercontinental, or I'm sorry, ballistic missiles. It's meant to shoot down rockets. And there's a big difference between rockets and missiles. Rockets are subsonic or barely supersonic, whereas missiles are maybe 3 to 15 times the speed of sound. And so it's much more difficult for Iron Dome rockets to catch them and intercept them. Also, the missiles coming from Iran heretofore have been missiles that are steerable. So the rockets that they've been intercepting from Hamas and Hezbollah for the last 19 months, they're kind of like if you throw a football. Once you let go of that football, it's going where it's going. And so it's easy to track those kind of rockets, which are shorter range, smaller, and slower. It's easy to figure out where they're going to land. But the missiles that are coming from Iran are steerable and travel much faster, so they can evade the Iron Dome rockets. Now, the United States has a lot of anti-missile defenses in the region as well, and those are more capable of shooting down uh, ballistic missiles. Um, so, like the THAAD system, terminal high altitude aerial defense system, uh, is intended to shoot down ballistic missiles, and it does a pretty good job. But we have a limited number of those on the ground over there, and we're running out quickly. when it comes to the attacks on U.S. bases, I think the U.S. military decided that it would be better to just evacuate those bases for the time being and tell Iran, do your worst, and then we'll come back and pick up the pieces. So it appears that there have been some strikes on our U.S., one of our U.S. bases in Iraq that nobody, again, no injuries because we already evacuated those bases. And there are also drones that are being fired at those bases as well. Um, the New York Times just confirmed that Iran coordinated the attack with Qatari officials. Um, Now the IDF is attacking Tehran, and U.S. Air Force jets are taking off from Saudi Arabia and are in the air. So we will see what happens next. Folks, we got 1,500 people on, 1,700 people online, and do me a favor, go hit that like button, and then go to the chat here. Tell me where you're watching from. I love to see all the different places people come in from. Again, I'm in Newark Airport today, just on a layover. I've just got a few minutes, and just as we were landing a few minutes ago, uh, the alert came through on my phone that Iran was attacking U.S. bases around the Middle East. So again, there are sirens sounding at bases in Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, uh, at least, and possibly Jordan at this point. Wow, you guys are really coming in from all over the place. Australia, Germany, South Africa, Houston, amazing. Middle of a cornfield in rural Kentucky. Oh, that we have a bunch of farmers who watch us as they're out harvesting their crops. I love that. So the I have to say the attack by Iran so far has been pretty lame. It might sound worrying, but don't be worried. We expected this. I told you this was going to happen. Thank you, little Cajun. Appreciate that. Very kind of you. So yeah, I told you this was going to happen, and Iran, they have thousands likely of missiles that can reach American bases, but this was a measured attack in that, for example, in Qatar, they only fired about 6 missiles at Qatar. Qatar shot down 5 of them, and one of them landed outside the base. So again, so far, no sign of injuries or deaths from this. They coordinated this ahead of time, and regional officials tell Reuters that Iran wanted the U.S. or warned the U.S. through 2 diplomatic channels hours before the attack. So the we were worried about, we get into a war with Iran, the price of oil is going to skyrocket. But it appears that a lot of that was already baked into the cake, so to speak, because the price of oil just went down when Iran attacked, because the attack was so lame that it wasn't anywhere near what people thought it might be. So not to worry, not such a big deal. Okay. Uh, Now I'm going to show you a video here. I got to be careful how I do this. First, here's a video of a one of the missiles. This is from. Oh, I don't know if I might have missed that. There you go. You can see that little fire go by. That's about it. Uh, yeah, that was it. You saw a little fire go by. Uh, that's in Qatar. The one missile that landed out in the desert someplace. Uh, there are videos coming out of the air defense systems in Qatar shooting down these missiles. You can't really see that very well, but it's at nighttime over there, and you can see some points of light in the sky. Those aren't stars; those are anti-missile uh, rockets taking off. Bahrain has put out a call for all of its citizens to seek immediate shelter. So it looks like they haven't received their attack yet. Uh, the Qatari Foreign Ministry is blasting Iran and saying this was a blatant violation. Violation of what? I'm not sure. Uh, of neighborliness? Definitely a violation of neighborliness. Iran is not being very kind here. Uh, Now, is this World War III? Well, you've heard me say many times, I think we're already in World War III. We have been for about 3 years. And when the history is written of World War III, this will be part of it. But is this a severe escalation that's going to draw America into a fight where a whole bunch of Americans die? Not likely, at least not at this point. Uh, Now, the United States will pretty much have to retaliate or lose face. And this is one of those things that, well, nobody died and there was very little damage so far. So President Trump might just say, well, that was so lame, it doesn't even garner a response. But I'm not sure how well that would play with his base, at least part of them. You tell me in the chat, write down yes or no if you would like to see President Trump order more strikes on Iran in retaliation for these strikes, as he said. Do you think that the U.S. should respond to these, or should we just let it go? Why'd the IRGC warn Qatar prior to launching the missiles? Because they didn't want to kill a bunch of Qataris. Qatar is, as you know, and I've reported many times, a Arab country that tries to straddle the fence and act like they are friends of the West when they're not really. They support Hamas. They have supported other extremist groups, and they're really a wolf in sheep's clothing. So it would, let's just call it professional courtesy on the part of Iran for alerting them that they were going to do this. They also alerted the United States, by the way, again, so that because Iran kind of wants it to end right here, and so they didn't really want to kill anybody. It looks like they just wanted to look like they wanted to kill people. It's pretty ridiculous how there's so much of this is just actual theater. It's political theater on both sides, from the United States and from Iran and from Israel. There's so much political theater goes on. If we just this is the thing that kind of drives me crazy. It would be so much better, I think, if you just ended it and like didn't announce anything, just absolutely take Iran to the mat and end it. Absolutely end it. The only way you can appropriately end a war is by winning it. And you only can win by making your enemy beg you to stop. And we could do that. We have the ability. The United States military is certainly powerful enough to make Iran beg us to stop. And so all we have to do is start hitting their critical infrastructure and help Israel finish the job, and this thing would be over sooner rather than later. Did our attack hit point and destroy what was hit? Yes, our attacks uh, on Iran struck exactly the places we wanted to strike. And from the battle damage assessment we have so far, it looks like there was serious damage to the things that we struck. Fordo, nuclear facility, Natanz, and Isfahan. Now that's all that we did, but the Israelis have continued to strike since the United States finished our strike. The Israelis struck around Fordo again today, not the facility itself, but the approaches to the facility, the roads coming up to the facility, to try to make it harder for the IRGC to to get into Fordo. You could see that those strikes by Israel, because roads and bridges are not real high value targets. And if Israel has a very limited number of bombs, you have to ask yourself, why would Israel waste some of them on roads or bridges? just to slow down the response to Fordo. And I think that if you try to read between the lines a little bit, you could say, well, that could be because it is likely that Israel is going to try to put at least some Mossad agents on the ground at Fordo to go inside and conduct a thorough battle damage assessment. And they don't want a bunch of QRF forces, quick reaction forces from the IRGC showing up. Now, we are hearing from people inside Iran that the IRGC and the Iranian secret police and everything are setting up checkpoints all over the place. They are stopping Iranians as they're trying to move about. They are arresting people. They're even executing people that they believe they're accusing of being spies for Iran. So they are cracking down, but they're cracking down on their own people. Um, Did they take away the nuclear inert, I guess you're trying to say, material? Uh, well, we have not been able to confirm where it's almost 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium is. Now, I saw one report that that said that they believe it was actually in the places that we struck. But I mean, there have been many other reports saying we have no idea where it is, including from the IAEA. And that's very bad, very, very bad. We need to figure out where that nuclear material is and take it off the table. We do not know for sure that the uranium was destroyed, Sherry. So, no, we don't. Folks, we got 2,800 people online. I just want to mention to you that if you go to chuckholton.com, I'm posting things faster over there before I can go live. So if you want to get up to the date, up to the minute reporting as best I can, me and my team are posting things over at chuckholton.com multiple times every day. So if anything happens, I'm going to post it over there first. You can also become a supporter over there, and you can support our work and keep us out in the field doing what we're doing. Thank you for watching. Now, I'll just go through this again for those of you that are just joining us. Iran did strike at multiple bases across the Middle East, striking at U.S. military bases in Qatar, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia, at least. And so far, there has been very little damage and no deaths. And part of that is likely because it's being reported that Iran actually alerted the United States several hours before the attack so we could move everybody underground or move things out of the way. Most of the missiles have been shot down. So this has been actually a very lame response, I would say, without a doubt. And, it's kind of ironic that Qatar and Iraq both said that they support Hamas and stood behind Hamas, and they've been now Qatar is being struck. Qatar is going to make noises like they're really upset about this, but they knew it was going to happen. Nobody got hurt, and they have to pretend that they're upset, but in reality, they're kind of like, okay, it's over, whatever. Question. My husband said there was a report that there was no evidence Iran was trying to make nuclear weapons instead of just trying to create nuclear power. What are your thoughts? So Tulsi Gabbard gave a report. This is an annual report that comes out every year before Congress. This is closer to the beginning of this year, where she said that they did not believe Iran was looking to build nuclear weapons directly. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they had been enriching uranium as high as 85%. Now, they have a bunch that's 60%, like I said, about 900 pounds of uranium that's enriched to 60%. We know that because the IAEA actually had it under lock and key at one of those nuclear facilities inside Iran. But when the attacks started from Israel, that they lost contact with it, and they can't get anybody in there to find out where it is, and it's not there anymore. So if they were only pursuing commercial or medical uses for or nuclear power uses, they only need to uh, enrich uranium up to about 3%. So the very fact that they have enriched uranium to 60% shows that they do intend to build a bomb at some point. But what the report said from Tulsi Gabbard and the intelligence establishment was that they didn't believe Iran was going to try to sprint to the finish and actually make nuclear bombs in the near future. However, Israel disagreed with that sentiment. President Trump disagreed with that sentiment, and he said, according to the intelligence that he has seen, President Trump has seen, likely some of it from Iran, from Israel. Iran was very making the decision at least, and they were close enough that they could sprint to the finish and get a nuclear bomb in a matter of days to weeks. And that's just far too close. What's changed? Well, Iran built new centrifuges that could enrich uranium much faster than the old ones could, like 20 times faster. And so the the day that Israel struck Iran, the IAEA themselves said Iran is not abiding by what their agreements not to enrich uranium beyond, medical grade or commercial grade. So why did we hear 3 soldiers were down? I have not seen anything about soldiers going down. Let me see here if there's a new update on that. I'll just read you. I got to get going here in a couple of minutes because I've got a plane to catch. Uh, the Iranian armed forces released a kind of ridiculous statement. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very long, but just I'll read you a portion of it so you can hear how ridiculous their statement is. It says, "Noble and resilient nation of Iran, following the blatant military aggression of the criminal regime of the United States of America against the peaceful nuclear facilities of the Islamic Republic of Iran." Again, if they were peaceful, they would have no need to enrich uranium to 60%. And we know they have uranium at 60%. In the clear violation of international law by the order of the Supreme National Security Council, the IRGC, with the sacred code of something, has targeted the Al Udeid base in Qatar with a devastating and powerful missile attack in Operation something Victory. This base is the headquarters of the Air Force and the largest strategic asset of the U.S. terrorist army in the West Asian region. The message of this decisive action of the sons of the nation in armed forces is clear and unequivocal for the White House and its allies. Blah, blah, blah. With the aggression of the American enemy, it became clear to everyone that the evil Zionist entity, blah, blah, blah. Any repetition of U.S. aggression will lead to the acceleration of the collapse of the U.S. military pillars in the region. Their ignominious escape from West Asia and the realization of the common aspiration of the Islamic Ummah, that's the whole Islamic world, and the freedom-loving nations of the world in eradicating the cancerous tumor of Zion. So again, they are threatening annihilation for the state of Israel, and they're threatening to strike America again. That's what you would expect them to say. It's not surprising. I don't see any reports here that there have been Americans that were down, any soldiers or anything. President Trump is in the Situation Room and watching and updating on what's happening in the Middle East. Administration officials tell the New York Times he does not intend to respond to the Iranian attack. Okay, so apparently, this was all orchestrated. This is absolute theater, and nobody gets hurt. There you go. The IDF is attacking Revolutionary Guard targets and launchers in western Iran. They are quickly whittling down the number of long range missile launchers that Iran has at its disposal. And because of that, it will, this is not going to go on for years or months, even. This barely will go on for weeks, I believe. Chuck, do you agree that Iran sounds like a Bond villain from every film ever? Yes, their messages absolutely sound like a Bond. Uh, you know, well, of course, Lord Peanut sounds like a Bond villain to me. So there you go. Do you know if they've completely blocked the Hormuz Strait? They have not, to my knowledge, so far. I doubt that oil prices would be going down if they did, and oil prices are dropping. So the oil markets obviously can see that this is just all theater, and it was just a lame excuse for an attack. Uh, Regional official tells Reuters Iran warned the U.S. through diplomatic channels hours before the attack. So this is why President Trump is not going to respond, because they knew that this was going to happen. Iran was like, just let us pretend to fire some missiles at your people, please, so we can pretend that we did something, and we won't hurt anybody. I mean, is that crazy? I mean, look, is the Iranian regime our enemy or not? Why are we coordinating with them and they're coordinating with us? This just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I say we coordinating with them. We obviously didn't coordinate with them the strike on Fordo, but the Israelis coordinated with them on their previous strikes in April and October, I believe. So there you go. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just released a statement and said, "We are close to eliminating the threat." Well, that would be pretty awesome if they did that. Do you agree? Let's see. Can the space station see the actual sites the missiles are being fired from in real time? Not the space station, but satellites, military satellites can. And we got drones all over the place out there. Lord Peanut says, my mom lives in Israel. She is meant to visit me in 2 weeks. Any chance she'll make it? Uh, well, the Israelis have had their airspace shut down for some time, as you know, but today they announced that they would be reopening their airspace for people, for flights that are leaving Israel. So if somebody wants to leave Israel, they should be able to leave in the next few days. I don't know about getting back in. I'm trying to get in myself, and I may have to take a boat from Cyprus. Did they sink Iran's navy? Not yet, but one can hope. All right. So, folks, I've got to run. I'm sorry, but that's all I've got time for because my plane is boarding in 10 minutes. So I got to get going. But thank you very much for watching. God bless all of you. And we will see you again tomorrow with an update. And if we get any breaking news, I'll update you as soon as I can. All right. Make sure you go to chuckholton.com. Make sure you like and subscribe to this podcast. And we'll see you next time.